Hey guys, welcome back to Teal House Farm, and today's another cooking with our items from the canning pantry. And today we're going to do a poor man's version of French onion soup. Hey, loud mouth.
Here's the burger.
Perfect. All right, we'll do that in just a minute. Let me start mine and then we'll make yours. Okay, gotta keep everybody busy. So we're going to do a poor man's version of French onion soup. So if you are a food purist, look the other way, but it's going to be pretty darn close and it's going to be really yummy. I love French onion soup. It's nice and warm, even though it is now May. This is kind of a cold, drizzly day. It's soup day, so we're going to enjoy some French onion soup. So let me show you what we need. First, obviously, you cannot enjoy French onion soup without a baguette. So I'm just making this for Sam and I. The kids probably wouldn't eat French onion soup if I offered it to them, which is fine. They're gonna eat something else for lunch. This is just Sam and I. So this is a third of a take and bake baguette that I bought at the store. So I cut it into thirds and I freeze it back in its original packaging and then just take it out when I need it for things like this. So I have that. We have about a third of a cup of butter. We have 2 half pints of canned onions. The great thing about the canned onions is we can make the soup faster and we don't have to have any tears from the cutting, so we get it on the table faster with less pain. I have a quart of bone broth. You could also use beef broth. I'm just going to use my bone broth today because it's got a beautiful color. For spices, we need salt, pepper, bay leaves, and thyme. And we also need some minced garlic. You could use fresh cloves, or I'm going to just use some out of the fridge. And then for the cheese, so usually French onion soup is, I think you say Gruyere cheese, but I don't have any of that, and I'm sure it's incredibly expensive if I tried to go buy it. So we're doing a 3-cheese French onion soup with what I already have on hand, which is some grated cheap Parmesan cheese, some provolone cheese, which we'll cut a slice up into small chunks, and some Swiss cheese where we'll cut a slice up into small chunks. Altogether, I think this will probably take about a half an hour, but a large portion of that time is caramelizing the onions on the stove, which is what we're going to do first before we add all the other stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we're going to get started by cutting up some cheese. Ivy's going to help me with that. And so we're going to do 2 slices of provolone cheese, and she's going to cut them into just thin strips. This will help them melt really well on the bottom of the bowls when we add the soup to them. And then she's going to do 2 slices of some Swiss cheese. You can kind of be creative with the kind of cheese you want to use. You don't have to use all 3 I'm going to use, but this is what we're using today, and the taste is going to be great. Next up, we're going to add a third of a stick of butter, and we're going to melt that in a pot, and going to add about 3 cloves worth of minced garlic here, and then 3 bay leaves, and we're going to drain our 2 half pints of onions and dump them in as well. Make sure you drain them really well. You don't want all that liquid, it'll just make it take longer for these things to cook. And we're going to add a pinch of thyme and probably about half a teaspoon of salt and a dash of pepper. There it is. We're going to let it cook like that for about 15 minutes to get the onions a nice color. While that's going on, Ivy makes the lunch for the kids. I don't think the kids will eat French onion soup. Maybe they would. It's not a strange taste at all, but kids aren't big soup eaters, and that's fine. So they're going to have some watermelon, some carrots, and half of a cheeseburger for their lunches today. Ivy gets that all set up, and I go ahead and do a third of a cup of flour and a cup of milk and mix that together to make a roux. And we add that to our onions that have now cooked for 15 minutes, mix it in, and add a quart of bone broth. And then our baguette here goes in the oven on 400. It'll take 5 or 6 minutes for that to brown. Taking a break from the montage here to mention, I'm trying a little bit of a different recipe, and it said to use the milk to make a creamier soup, and it tastes delicious. It still tastes like a French onion soup base, great flavor. The color is weird though because of the milk. So I think if I do this again, I might just continue to make just the roux with the flour in the butter instead of doing the flour in the milk and then in, because the milk, I don't know, it's just kind of a non-appetizing looking color. It's like a gray brown, but it tastes so good. But I don't feel like the milk really added anything to the flavor. It does make the soup a little creamier, but the color that it takes away is not worth it to me. So there's my notes. If you want to make this, I would just do what I would normally do, which is add the flour when you're after you caramelize the onions, just sprinkle the flour in and mix it in to make a roux, and then slowly add your broth and skip the milk altogether. Okay, let's finish. Get our 2 bowls, and we're gonna go ahead and split the cheese in half between the 2 bowls. And then we're gonna sprinkle our Parmesan cheese on top. And then we need to take the bay leaves out. Nobody wants to accidentally eat those, so we pull them out of the pot. And then we add the soup on top of the cheese, and we slice the baguette. A nice warm soup with a crispy baguette and lots of cheese on the bottom. That's the best part. Okay, all done. As I said, the color is not the best. I will definitely leave the milk out next time. But the taste is delicious, and it's a really simple way to make a decadent French onion soup. What's in your canning pantry already, which is gonna cut down on your chopping and dicing time, and no tears because the onion's already taken care of for you. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.